Hello everyone, and welcome to another Anime Villainous how-to video. I'm Chaos in the Sky, and today I'll be taking you through how to play as Orochimaru from Naruto in Anime Villainous. Orochimaru is an S-class missing ninja from the village hidden in the leaves, as well as one of the 3 legendary Sannin. A prodigy from birth, Orochimaru grew up as one of the Leaf Village's most skilled shinobi, fighting in both the Second and Third Shinobi World Wars. However, Orochimaru slowly became darker and more twisted as time went on. He ended up performing cruel and inhumane experiments to further his quest for knowledge, wishing to unlock all the secrets that the world had to offer. To this end, he abandoned his village, seeking a way to gain immortality and more powerful jutsu through possessing the bodies of other ninja. Eventually, this led to Orochimaru developing a fascination with the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, wanting to claim the body of an Uchiha for himself so that he could have the legendary dojutsu, and further his quest for endless knowledge. The next step in Orochimaru's quest for knowledge and eternal life is to take over the body of Sasuke Uchiha. To that end, his objective in Anime Villainous is to remove Sasuke from the game, thus taking his body for himself. There are certain steps Orochimaru has to take to be able to do this, but before we get into that, I want to go in depth about Orochimaru's villain ability, as his gameplay revolves around it. Orochimaru's villain ability is that whenever you play a card from your hand, you may then play another card with a different hand seal, provided you can pay its cost. What is a hand seal, you ask? It's a symbol that you'll find at the bottom right of every single one of Orochimaru's villain cards. Understanding the hand seals in Orochimaru's ability are vital to playing as him, so let's show some examples. First, we'll look at the 3 different hand seals you'll find in Orochimaru's deck. There's the dog, the horse, and the snake. Luckily for us, we don't need to remember the names of the hand seals. Just recognize that there are 3 distinct ones, and that they each look different from one another. With there being 30 cards in the villain deck, Orochimaru has 10 cards for each unique hand seal. Orochimaru's ability means that he can play as many cards as he has in hand, provided he can afford the cost of each card, and the hand seals work out. So depending on the position he's in, Orochimaru can play as few as just 1 card on his turn, to as many as 6. We're going to assume Orochimaru is playing 3 cards on his turn for the sake of these upcoming examples. Our first example is straightforward. We see here that Orochimaru is first playing a card with the dog hand seal, followed by the horse, and then lastly, the snake. Each following hand seal is different from the last, so this is within Orochimaru's ability. Does this mean you always have to use all 3 hand seals? Not at all. In this second example, you can see that Orochimaru plays a snake hand seal, followed by a horse, and then another snake after that. While you can't chain together 2 of the same hand seals, you can play 1 hand seal, then a different one, and then go back to the previous, just so long as none of the same hand seals are played back to back. For this third example, you'll see multiple copies of the same card. Even though the card Forbidden Experiments, as we see here, has the same name and ability, you'll notice that the hand seals are different. While Orochimaru does have some cards with multiple copies in his deck, no copy of a card has the same hand seal. This means you can use his ability to chain together copies of the same card, because while they have the same ability, their hand seals are different, meaning they follow the rule of his villain ability. Now that we understand how Orochimaru's villain ability works, we can get to achieving his objective. To remove Sasuke from the game, there are 3 specific cards that Orochimaru will always need: Sealed Coffin, White Snake, and Sasuke himself. Sasuke, of course, is a hero found in Orochimaru's Fate deck, and a strong one at that. He has a whopping 8 strength, one of the highest numbers in all of the Battle Begins box. Orochimaru wants for Sasuke to be played into his territory so he can start on removing him from the game, which means your opponents won't be playing him for you. Sasuke's ability is also that when he's played, he can be discarded to shuffle Orochimaru's discard pile into his villain deck, which means even if your opponent is forced into playing him, they can choose to discard him immediately. Because of this, Orochimaru has to play Sasuke himself. He does this by using the Sealed Coffin, an item in his deck. Sealed Coffin can be activated to play Sasuke, but only if Orochimaru has allies totaling at least 10 strength in his territory. It also has a secondary effect that once per turn, if a hero at the same location as the Sealed Coffin loses strength, Orochimaru then gains 1 power. Orochimaru will be doing a lot of lowering heroes' strength, because the third card he needs to win, White Snake, needs heroes to be at 0 strength. White Snake is a form that makes it where if Orochimaru clashes with a hero whose strength is at 0, they are then removed from the game. This is the only way Orochimaru can remove a hero from the game, meaning it's the only way to achieve his objective of removing Sasuke. There are two other very important things to note about White Snake, aside from needing it to complete your objective. First is that since it's a form, and Orochimaru's only form at that, it will replace your villain ability. This means you can no longer play multiple cards from your hand while in the White Snake form, regardless of hand seals. Second is that its ability isn't exclusive to being used on Sasuke. If you end up lowering any hero's strength to 0 during the course of your game, you can then use White Snake to clash with and remove that hero from the game. They won't go back into the Fate discard pile. Also notice that White Snake is discarded after you perform a clash, returning you to your original villain ability. So to complete Orochimaru's objective, you must use Sealed Coffin to play Sasuke, and then lower his strength to 0 to then clash with him using the White Snake form. But to use Sealed Coffin, you'll need allies who add up to at least 10 strength. So before we get into lowering Sasuke's strength, let's take a look at the allies in Orochimaru's deck. Orochimaru's 3 strongest allies are his faithful aide Kabuto, his strongest summon Manda, and his former host body candidate Kimimaro. They each have strong, unique abilities, as well as good strength values to count towards the Sealed Coffin. Kabuto's ability allows you to choose a card from your deck or discard pile and put it into your hand, shuffling your deck after. Doing this requires both an activate action, and for Orochimaru to discard 2 cards with the same hand seal from his hand. Thankfully, since there are only 3 hand seals, Orochimaru should have a matching pair at almost all times, assuming he has the usual 4 cards in hand. Kabuto also has 4 strength, the second highest among Orochimaru's allies. Manda, meanwhile, is the strongest ally in Orochimaru's deck, with a powerful 5 strength. His ability is incredibly useful, allowing you to perform a vanquish action using Manda so long as Orochimaru is at his location. He also only costs 1, which seems incredibly cheap. However, you'll notice that Manda has a requirement that he can only be played if you have played 2 or more other cards from your hand during your turn. This means to play Manda, you'll need to use Orochimaru's ability to play at least 2 cards prior to playing him. Kimimaro only has a strength of 3, but his ability makes him one of Orochimaru's most useful pawns. Whenever Kimimaro is discarded from your territory, which includes when used in a vanquish, you can discard 2 cards with the same hand seal from your hand to play him to any location for free. Notice that cards like Manda and Orochimaru's villain ability require cards to be played from your hand, so playing Kimimaro like this cannot be used in conjunction with Orochimaru's ability or other cards. Orochimaru's other allies are the Sound 4, all of them having 2 or 3 strength along with different abilities to assist Orochimaru. Jirobo's ability is that when he's moved, you can then move a hero from his previous location to his new one. Kitamaro's ability lets him be used in vanquish actions against heroes at either his location or any adjacent locations. Tayuya has an activatable ability, which lets you perform a vanquish action to defeat a hero at Tayuya's location, provided you spend 1 power. Unlike Manda's ability, which requires you to use him in the vanquish, you don't have to use Tayuya for the vanquish action if you have other allies that can defeat the hero instead. Sakon and Ukon also have an activatable ability that lets you swap the locations of any 2 allies in your territory. Make sure you realize that Sakon and Ukon don't have to be among the allies swapped, giving this ability many options. We've covered all of Orochimaru's 7 allies, so now let's get into how you'll be lowering Sasuke's, and any other hero's, strength values. Orochimaru has 5 cards that allow him to lower a hero's strength, 3 of which are items, and 2 of which are effects. The effects are Killing Intent and Summon Rashomon. Killing Intent is very straightforward. When played, you get to choose a hero at Orochimaru or an ally's location, then have that hero lose 1 strength. Summon Rashomon is a bit more involved, but perhaps Orochimaru's most powerful strength-reducing card. It has the same requirement that Manda does, of only being playable after you've played at least 2 other cards from your hand with Orochimaru's villain ability. But when it is played, every hero in Orochimaru's territory loses strength equal to the number of allies at their location. This can lead to big swings in a hero's strength, depending on how many allies you have in play, and can affect multiple heroes at once. Next, we have Orochimaru's 3 strength-reducing items. Firstly is the 4 Violet Barrier, an item that will sit in Orochimaru's territory for you to activate. To activate the barrier, you have to spend 1 power, and then a hero will lose 1 strength. Straightforward, just like Killing Intent, but consistent and useful as a result. Poison Kunai is an item that you attach to one of your allies. It gives them +1 strength, making them more useful for both defeating heroes and Sealed Coffin's activate requirement. Whenever you defeat a hero using an ally that has poison kunai attached, you can then choose another hero to lose 1 strength. The last strength reducing card is the item Curse Seal, which actually has a bit of a twist to it. You can attach Curse Seal to either a hero or an ally. From then on, whenever you play 3 cards from your hand during your turn, Curse Seal will have that ally or hero either lose or gain 1 strength. If it's an ally, they'll gain 1 strength, and if it's a hero, they'll lose 1 strength. Keep in mind that you can only attach 1 Cursed Seal per ally or hero, so you can't stack them onto the same card. There are a few more cards in Orochimaru's villain deck to help him with his objective, so let's go through them before we get into talking about his fate deck. First, we have the Sword of Kusanagi, a powerful item that you attach to Orochimaru himself. With the Sword of Kusanagi, before you clash on your turn, you can discard the sword to move Orochimaru to any location, clash with a hero there, and then end your turn. This is incredibly useful for when you get Sasuke to 0 strength, letting you go straight to clashing with him. It can also help deal with any other heroes you may want to clash with while working towards playing and lowering Sasuke's strength. Orochimaru also has 2 other effect cards in his deck, Forbidden Experiments and Body Modifications. Forbidden Experiments has 2 separate effects, and you can choose which one to use when you play it. You can either use it to gain 1 power for every other card you played prior to playing Forbidden Experiments, or you can use it to perform an activate action. This is Orochimaru's best way of gaining power, and also a good way to do some extra activates for Orochimaru's many activatable cards. Body Modifications, meanwhile, is helpful for searching through Orochimaru's deck for the cards you need. When played, it lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, plus 1 extra card for each card you played prior to Body Modifications. You can then discard any number of those cards, and return the rest to the top of your deck in whatever order you like. All that's left now are Orochimaru's schemes, of which there are 3. There's Substitution Jutsu, a scheme that triggers when the targeted player defeats a hero with a strength of 3 or less during their own turn. This allows you to swap the locations of any 2 characters in Orochimaru's territory. Character is a unique term in anime Villainous that refers to anything with a strength value, which if you recall is the number at the bottom left of heroes, allies, and villain portraits. This means Substitution Jutsu can swap the locations of any ally hero or Orochimaru himself, represented by his mover. Do make sure that you pay attention to how this scheme can only be triggered on the targeted player's turn, meaning there's no way it could ever be triggered during Orochimaru's own turn, unlike some other schemes. Next is Shed Skin, which is triggered when the targeted player discards 2 or more cards from their hand. This lets Orochimaru draw 1 additional card, which, given his villain ability, can be extremely powerful. There are 2 copies of Shed Skin in Orochimaru's deck, meaning it's possible you can have 6 cards in hand. If the stars align, this could lead to Orochimaru's ability letting you play 6 cards in a single play-a-card action. The final card of Orochimaru's villain deck is Reincarnation. Several of Orochimaru's cards rely on the presence of allies, and Reincarnation is one of your best ways to get them. It's triggered when the targeted player discards an ally from their territory, and lets Orochimaru choose an ally from his deck or discard pile, put them into his hand, and then shuffle his deck. With all of Orochimaru's villain deck covered, we'll now look at the Fate deck. We already know Sasuke is one of the cards you'll see in it, but there are several other heroes, effects, and of course Orochimaru's challenge. First, we have Orochimaru's old team from the Leaf Village, his fellow 2 Sannin, and the 3rd Hokage. They're the strongest heroes aside from Sasuke, and they all have abilities that slow down Orochimaru's objective. Tsunade and Jiraiya both have 4 strength, and abilities that cost Orochimaru more power per card that he plays. This makes it much harder for him to chain cards with his ability, which is paramount to his playstyle. When Tsunade is in play, all schemes and effects cost 1 more power, and while Jiraiya is in play, all allies and items cost 1 more power. Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, doesn't affect Orochimaru's power. Instead, he has a high 5 strength, and when he has at least 5 strength, other heroes at his location cannot lose strength. This can put a major stop on Orochimaru's work to lower Sasuke's strength so that he can remove him from the game. Not only does Orochimaru's old team stand in his way, but so do Sasuke's teammates. Kakashi is a hero that when played causes Orochimaru to lose 2 power, and then makes Orochimaru lose another 2 power when he's defeated. Naruto is a fairly weak hero, but annoying to get rid of. If there are any heroes at a location other than Naruto's in Orochimaru's territory, then when Naruto would be defeated, he moves to that hero's location instead. To defeat him, you'll either need there to be no heroes in Orochimaru's territory aside from Naruto, or for all of the heroes to be at the same location as Naruto. Sakura is a rather weak hero as well strength-wise, but she gives all other heroes +1 strength. This includes Sasuke, meaning you have to either deal with Sakura first, or get Sasuke from 9 strength down to 0, rather than from 8 strength. The last 2 heroes in Orochimaru's Fate deck are Gaara and Lee. When Gaara is played, the opponent playing him may move a hero to any location, and an ally to any location. Position and action economy matter a good deal for Orochimaru, so this can be fairly damaging. Lee, meanwhile, requires at least 2 allies to be used when being defeated by Vanquish action. Orochimaru only has so many allies, so it may be better to lower Lee's strength and defeat him using a clash to avoid losing 2 allies and defeating him. There are also 3 effect cards in Orochimaru's Fate deck: Recovery Mission, Shuriken, and Decomposing. Recovery Mission moves a hero to any location, and also removes a -1 strength token from that hero if there is one, setting back Orochimaru's progress on preparing a Vanquish or weakening Sasuke. Shuriken makes an ally in Orochimaru's territory lose 2 strength, making them less useful for vanquishing and for Sealed Coffin. Decomposing forces Orochimaru to discard cards from his hand until he has 1 or less cards in hand. Since Orochimaru loves chaining cards together, this can make his following turn a rather weak one, or cost him some important cards. To end it all, we have Orochimaru's challenge, the Dead Demon Consuming Seal. When this challenge is in play, Orochimaru can only play 1 card from his hand during his turn, essentially negating his villain ability entirely. To get rid of this, Orochimaru can discard his entire hand before moving to discard Dead Demon Consuming Seal. This can lead to a very weak turn for Orochimaru, and potentially the loss of some important cards that he'll have to get back through either cycling his deck or using Kabuto's ability. With that, we've covered everything you need to know to play as Orochimaru. He's a devious snake looking to gain all knowledge along with immortality, and his ability allows powerful combo moves that take some good planning to utilize. If you have any questions relating to Orochimaru, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer you. Also, check out the description for the playlist to see all the other anime Villainous how-to videos if there's another character you want to learn about. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again for more anime Villainous videos in the future. Until then, farewell.